What's up guys, Eric here with another VOD review. It's another one of my own games that I was playing on my ladder climb yesterday that I was doing off stream because, I don't know, I got back from the gym and I was tired and I was like, I'm just going to play a few games before bed. I don't want to have to, like stream it and put a bunch of effort in. I'm just going to play some TFT. This was a really crazy climb for me, so let me just pull up my lol chest, or actually I'm going to pull up my tactics.tools account and you can see this is where I started the day and just boom. The games went very well. So I want to show you guys sort of why I think a lot of these games went well. I've been a person who's in the past really interested in, also here's another reason my games went really well. I did not get baited by this Melio stuff. I feel like old me would be like, oh my god, I get to start the game with 5 Melios? Maybe I just play Melio reroll, it's good. I can almost promise you this unit is, I mean, he's okay, but he is not great. He's definitely not something that I want to, like, ideally lean into. But speaking of, like, leaning into, what I have been leaning into on my climb recently is just playing the good comps. I think all of my games yesterday were either on Ionia or we're on Noxus Mordekaiser. I've legit just been flexing between those two. I know other people play like reroll stuff and it's quite good. There's a few people playing like challengers and it's okay. I really just want to lean into the strongest comps because I think in the past, I've really sort of shied away from that kind of stuff. I've been like, oh, I really just want to play uncontested TFT. For some reason, I have such an obsession with being uncontested when I play TFT. But recently, I've just said, okay, fuck it. I'm going to play the strongest comps in the game if I have a reasonable angle to play them, and I did this game. So we start off with a Jhin 2, we get dropped a Samira 2 as well, so now our board looks really strong. I'm just going to end up selling the Melio here and leveling to get the Taric in as some sort of frontline with this item. I think maybe you could even make the argument, I don't know, like Irelia over this Taric here and then just move the Adapticone to her. This Adaptive Helm I think is a really strong item, really great frontline item if you want to play towards Ionia, which is what we want to do this game. Also, by the way, did you see this Jhin ult? Did you see this Jhin just actually completely whiff ult? I was kind of fuming these first couple of fights because he just completely whiffs ult on the rogue. Like, so many of these fights I end up losing just because Jhin is a terrible unit in the early game. Get my item off Alar's Hollow there, and I'm just going to immediately make the last Whisper here. It's one of the most crucial items when you're playing around Ionia. I opt to slam it on the Samira instead of the Jhin because she's actually benefiting from the Challenger trait, so I feel like it's going to be better on her. And just because we do want Jhin later game if we're going to pivot our items over to Xayah, so having the last Whisper on the Samira makes it easier to make that pivot, you know? I don't have to sell the Jhin and, like, remake him. Since we have all of our items slammed already, we have nothing open, I'm just going to take a high-cost unit here with a good component, which is Glove. Glove really nice when you're playing around Ionia because you can, because they really love crit items, right? Hodge is good, QSS is good. Worst case, you can make an IE. Obviously, Last Whisper is good that we've already made that, but, you know, like Hodge, QSS, Guardbreaker, all really good items that we can make. We end up getting Warwick too here, and now I'm like a little bit sad that I put the Adaptive Helm onto the Irelia because I'd really like it on this Warwick too, just so he can be like a massive tank. But it's fine, you know, she's still gonna do work with the Adaptive Helm, and honestly, I think she might be a better holder of it. Obviously, like 2-star Warwick versus 1-star Irelia, we would prefer the item be on him, but like, regardless of cost, like if you just weigh these two units and their abilities, I think she's a better holder of Helm because she uses the AP better. He just gets some AP on attack, like his healing from the extra AP, and I don't think that's that great. I think a while here about whether I want to get this Neferi in, and I do end up putting it in because I really want to preserve my 3 streak, and it is for Challenger. I say, you know what, like the Ashe will come back later. Spiking my board here is really important, and just, you know, playing the strongest board possible and continuing my 3 streak. So I have to play this board. I don't buy the second Neferi because it's not like we're going to play Challengers this game. Our items just don't work for Challengers whatsoever. Something sort of I think I've thought more about recently is, in this set, definitely the inflexibility of items. I've slammed this Last Whisper. Also, by the way, I get dropped a Spatula here, which is in some ways really good and in some ways really bad. I also get dropped the Karma here, which is really crucial because I really want to get Ionia in for Augment, make sure that we're tailoring for Ionia. Like, if you can get Ionia +1 or Sentinel's Refuge, whatever it's called, the Ionia augments, like, if you can get any of those, they are very, 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 very strong right now. So I want to make sure that I have Ionia in for augment here. I actually fight this board, and I'm like, oh, this is probably like the only guy that I can beat. And it actually looks kind of scary at the start of the fight, and then, you know, we start getting through a lot of their units. But this is actually a bit high roll to fight this guy, because the other two people, I'm pretty sure I would have lost to. Augment-wise here, we are looking for some kind of, you know, like Ionia +1 or something like that. Parting Gifts and Transfusion are just terrible. Roll both of them. Silver Tick and Bulk are also pretty bad. So I'm just going to opt for Portable Forge here. Look for something like a Collector, Death's Defiance, Infinity Force. We don't really get any of those, and we're stuck between Hull Breacher and Eternal Winter. I opt for Eternal Winter in this situation because there's actually like a lot of AD in this lobby, and this is one of the things I start to notice and get a little bit worried about here. Also notice the anti-rogue tech positioning here, where I put my Samira all the way over here, so all the rogues end up dashing to my backline, and Samira stays safe. I believe we still lose this fight just because Graves is a beast, but hey, at least we kill some units. But yeah, around this point in the game, I start looking around the lobby and going, wait a minute, there's like a lot of people with Last Whispers and things like that made. I think I'm going to be pretty contested in Ionia. We take our item off Valar's Hollow. Zephyr is just the best Ornn item in the game, and it's really solid in this comp. Gives your units a bunch of extra attack speed for like your Neela and your Xayah, so I think it's really good. I could have put the Zephyr on the Jhin here and hit these units. The problem is I would just prefer it on the Karma. She's easier to sell, she's easier to sort of like move around. So I opted to just put it on Karma, and maybe that's even the swing in this fight, I'm not sure. I was honestly surprised by how these fights went, because I was like, wait, I thought my board was pretty strong. I thought we were playing around like a Warwick 2, like the Warwick 2 is even a little bit high roll. But yeah, we actually lose a decent number of these fights. I really want this sword that's on Fiora, but I can't end up getting it. So I just opt to finish out my Rod item. Rod in this comp can either be Gunblade, or it can be whatever this item that I make is called, Crown Guard. Yeah, it can be Crown Guard, a really, really nice Shen item. Because similar to Adaptive Helm, gives him the mana, gives him the AP that he wants. Actually, Crown Guard doesn't give mana, but it gives AP, which is what Shen really, really wants. Same thing as like Taric, same thing as like Nico. They're sort of like AP tanks, so giving them as much AP as possible is really good. It feels a little bit bad to be on Warwick here, and I think that's why our early game was actually sort of weaker than I hoped it would be, is because like these items are great on units like Shen, sort of the supportive tanks, but they're not actually great on like real tanks like Warwick. But yeah, it's about this point in the game where I start to get kind of worried. I'm losing a lot of my fights, and I scout and I see, okay, that person already hit Neela 2. This person already has a Xayah. That person up there I know is angling for the comp as well. So I believe I think there are 4 other people playing this comp, and they're all in varying degrees of hitting. The last place player there, like I showed there, has a Neela 2 that, I don't know if they got it off carousel or they just rolled a lot on 7 at 3-5 and hit it. So I'm like, wait, I don't know if I can hit any of these units in Ionia. So for a little while here, I'm entertaining a possible pivot into Aphelios. The only problem with pivoting into Aphelios here is that we have the spat left over, and that's going to be completely dead. If we didn't have the spat, the pivot into Aphelios actually makes a decent bit of sense. But I am going to entertain a possible pivot into Aphelios here, because we need to have some kind of backup plan in case we completely miss. And we do find 2 Aphelioses there. We do find a Xayah pretty quickly, though, and that is sort of my sign that, okay, I'm probably actually still going to play this Ionia comp, even though, you know, my items aren't, or actually my items are great, but even though it's actually me pretty hard to hit. We end up actually Zephyring that Neela by just leaving our Karma in the right spot, which is really cool. But yeah, as you can see, I sell the Aphelios there. I think 1 Xayah allows me to play this comp. The big issue is that I'm behind. I am 38 HP, it's 4-1, and I am super, super contested. Augment-wise here, we get Blessed with some really, really good options. Scoped Weapons is so good in this comp, so I opt to just take that. But, you know, the other option being potentially Long Distance Pals is really good. We hit Sejuani too here, which is really, really crucial because we needed to hit something on this roll down. And Sejuani is actually a unit that, you know, like you don't always see in this comp. You know, like you can play around her with the Ashe, but like if we want to play the 6 Ionia board, you can't easily play Sejuani on 7 if you want to get in 4 Vanquisher as well. So it's a little bit of a non-traditional inclusion. Like it's not the traditional 4 Ionia or 6 Ionia 4 Vanquisher board, but I do hit the Sejuani and I have to play around it. She's a 2-star unit, and I think the Sejuani ends up saving me a ton of HP in the long run. Get the Shen there, so we finally get 6 Ionia in, and this is going to spike our board a bit, and we find the Neela here. The problem is that we can't actually fit Neela on this board without cutting Ionia, so I'm just going to have to rage that we hit the Ionia spat off carousel here. I did think a little bit, like, for a second about making a Vanquisher spat, but I don't think that really does anything. One, it's just not as strong, like, you end up putting Vanquisher spat on, like, Karma or something, and two, it doesn't give us the 6 Ionia board that I'd really like to play here, so I'm actually not going to go for that, and I'm just going to take Sword off Carousel here to get the Ionia spat. So, look at my spot now. I'm 25 HP. The big issue is that it's just going to be impossible for me to hit Xayah 2 and Neela 2 until some of these people start to die off. Like, if I roll at 7, I'm looking around, like, there's Xayah 2s out of the pool, there's, like, 5 Xayahs out of the pool, 4 or 5 Neelas out of the pool, potentially. It's really, really hard for me to hit in this position, so I'm just going to play this board and try to get as best positioning as I can in all these fights. I have Zephyr, so I'm just going to try to Zephyr enemy carries whenever I can. Actually move this eye over here to try to stop myself from getting Zephyred, but they actually do the same thing, and this person moves Zephyr up to frontline to hit my Sejuani, which is really scary for a sec, but once the Sejuani comes back down, with the 3 tank item Sejuani 2 versus this board who's stuck on Xayah 1, it ends up being a dub against them, which is really nice to stabilize my HP a little bit. And, you know, it's at this point where I'm like, okay, things might be alright. I'm going to look to just push 8 in this position, because I know rolling at 7 isn't going to do anything. I know that it's going to be near impossible to hit Xayah 2 and very, very hard to hit Neela 2 in this spot. And level 8 is a huge spike for me. It's 4 Vanquisher, and I get to get Freljord in. It's really unfortunate that we actually fight this rogue player here, because this is one of the few people that the matchup is just very, very difficult for us versus. The Nyla tends to do good work in this matchup, but I still cannot get through this giant Graves 3 with all my units 1-starred, and so I take another loss there, down to 15 HP at 4-6, level 7 40 gold with basically nothing to my name. You know, I have the Xayah. The nice thing I have is that I've slammed really, really good items, and I've picked quite good augments. Healing Orbs and Portable Forge are, like, okay. They're, like, I would like to say, like, B tier augments in this comp, and then Scope Weapons is definitely, like, an S+ tier augment. Take our item here, and so I think about these items for a sec. I feel like it sort of has to be Guardbreaker here. I need to make as many Xayah and Neil items as I can here. So I believe I opt for Guardbreaker, Hodge, plus Titans. I think this is really good. I don't think there's much else that makes sense here. Like, you kind of have to make the Guardbreaker here with these components. You could maybe make, like, Shen items, but getting to 3 items on everyone is really, really valuable here. And all of a sudden, our board... Okay, I'm not going to say it looks that good, because honestly, for 5-1, this board is pretty sus. We even had an Aatrox here, which would be a really great addition if we had a 2-star Shen, but we don't. So we can't, like, move our items over and play around this Aatrox. We need the Sejuani in the front line. But yeah, you see, we actually fight this player here, which actually insane board, by the way. Shen 2, Xayah 2, GP 2 that they hit on 7 with Vanquisher +1. I was like, oh my god, I hit this person, I may be dead. But I Zephyr the GP in the right position, and this allows my Neela to start tearing through their board. The GP gets a cast off at the last second, but it's way, way, way too late. I've killed so much of their board that the boat does nothing, and so I beat them, drop them down to 13 HP, and I'm like, wait, there's actually a shot. At this point in the game, I was actually just like, give me a 6th. Give me a 6th. I thought this game was an 8th. If you give me a 6, I will be very, very happy, because I think going 6 from this position, like, when I could easily have just gone 8th very, very easily, I will be very happy with. I decide to cheese the Zephyr here, which is really, really important, but I can't actually hit this Neela because they, you know, put the Neela on the 3rd row, which is really, really scary. I end up Zephyring an Ahri, which does okay work. We do get through their board, drop this person really low as well. The only downside is I put my Zephyr on my Ashe. I think I definitely should have put it onto the Karma here so that I could guarantee cheese the Zephyr, because now I can't guarantee cheese the Zephyr. I have to actually hit the Zephyr here. So I'm scouting my opponents. I'm going to swap this Zephyr to the middle here, because I see there's a Silco here in the middle, and Silco's like the real unit that I definitely want to Zephyr on this board, because the Azir is just going to get slowed anyway. I end up fighting this person and Zephyring a pretty useless unit, this Hextech turret. The nice thing is that my board is way stronger than theirs. The Sejuani does a ton of work against them, and I end up beating them as well in a kind of close fight. Drop them down, and now look how close this lobby is. I'm looking at this carousel here, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I even take off this carousel? Like, Vanquisher +1 could be okay. I want to go for the Shojin here, but this guy takes Shojin, so I'm forced to take Noxus Spat, because the last 3 things left on this carousel are Spats. But I just want to take the highest cost unit possible, so I grab this Belveth. You might ask, like, okay, what am I actually rolling here for? I'm rolling for the extra Ashe to potentially cheese the Zephyr. Cheesing the Zephyr is really, really important this late into the game. I'm going to do a pretty similar thing here, actually, where I make some quick swaps and then swap the Zephyr to the middle. I do nail this Silco, and like I said, Silco's so important to hit here because he is going to actually sort of like get through the Sejuani. This Azir cannot get through the Sejuani whatsoever, and so I absolutely stomped this board, and I think, do 2 people die here, potentially? I think 2 people might die here, and it's a guaranteed top 6. I am over the moon. I'm like, okay, honestly, I'm happy with that. And now I roll, and because some of these people who are playing Vanquishers have died, I actually get Nilatu here. So now I have Nilatu with an Ionia spat, with insane in-slot items, with scoped weapons. I'm like, wait, my board's actually not that bad here. I just have to hope that I don't fight the rogue player, because the rogue player is really, really strong. I Zephyr here and actually miss the Zephyr onto the GP, which is really horrifying, but we still win this fight just through the power of how strong my Neela is. My board is actually stronger than this guy's. We eliminate him, and it's a top 4. Like, I was actually over. This was my like last game of the night. I was like, I'm just gonna keep playing until I bought 4, and then I got into this spot this game, and I'm like, okay, I'm going 8th. I'm losing a ton of LP for this game. I'm definitely gonna stop playing after this game, because like obviously this game is just gonna be an 8th. And then I saw what happened this game, and I was like, oh my god. Like, I actually just have plot armor. The fact that this game could somehow be a top 4 is insane to me. But I do think I played it really, really well to like know when to spike my board, rolling a lot on 7, trying to find my board 2-star. You gotta roll deep on 7 in those situations to at least find your board 1-star. And I also picked a good board to play, even though it was super contested. My augments and my items fit perfectly for that. And I think this is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. Boom, incredible fight there. It's a top 3. Sadly, this person hit a Azir 3. So I know that there is no way I'm winning out in this lobby. If they don't hit a Azir 3, maybe there's some world where I can win out, I think. I'm gonna roll down here and hopefully like high roll a Xayah 2 or something. We do end up finding the set 2, and we can move the Zephyr here. So I'm just gonna look to potentially Zephyr this Azir. My idea is that, you know, I can put my Zephyr in the corner and Zephyr Azir. And if I Zephyr Azir, maybe I take a better loss in this person and I can live. That's the hope. I do end up actually fighting the rogue player here and having kind of an insane fight versus them. I think maybe in hindsight, I should have just positioned my Zephyr for them so that I can get a better win versus them and maybe do more damage to them. Because I think if I get the Azir player there, I'm just dead and that's life. So yeah, I think maybe that's a little bit of a troll move there. I think I should have just positioned for them, tried to Zephyr one of their rogue units and do maximum damage, because then maybe I could have eked out a top 2 from this spot. So I think that's actually a mistake here. But I do end up putting the Zephyr down. I hit this Silco here, so I know Silco's going to do the most damage at the start, so I stop him from doing some amount of damage. Sadly, I go to -4, they go to -1, but just goes to show if I'd killed a few more units against that guy when I fought them, I could have actually gone top 2 here. So yeah, I think that's definitely... Actually, I didn't even realize it, but like looking back on this game, I know I can hit the Graves because it's always going to be on this hex. Like I can just move my set up, Zephyr the Graves, and I mean, honestly, I maybe could have killed, like had more of my units be alive here, and potentially I would have gone second. Wow, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I think this game really just shows how, one, like playing a really strong comp, even if contested, can be good, and how just picking really, really just strong items and strong augments that synergize with that comp can take you incredibly far. Also positioning stuff like Zephyr, playing to your outs, you know, knowing that if I just donkey rolled on 7, I wouldn't have hit anything, so I had to go level 8 in this spot, even though I was so low, and, you know, it actually got me here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, check out my Twitch, and all my other links down below. Thank you.